Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, we check out the bombing mechanic in the Hercules A2, as well as taking a look at all the other features coming in 3.15, plus the latest on the Alpha 3.15 Evocati builds. So before we begin, just a quick update on Alpha 3.15 and what is going on. The Evocati now have 3.15.0e on the NDA PTU. The last 2 or 3 builds have been very insignificant in terms of features, as they were more intended to fix issues like crashing. So I've not bothered to put them into their own individual videos because there wasn't really a lot to be said about them. This week, do expect a lot more 3.15 patches as they get closer to release and CitizenCon, of course, and for the more robust 3.15 builds, I will certainly cover the patch notes in their own videos when we get more details to them. Of course, we have no idea yet as to when the build will release to the non-NDA testers, but from what I've heard, the build is good, but there is a lot of crashing and bugs which is expected, and 30Ks seem to have been reduced somewhat from when they first put the build out, which is definitely a good sign, but they are still occasionally happening. Anyway, as I say, I will cover the development as the weeks go on in separate videos when we have more information, but do expect to learn more around CitizenCon and hopefully maybe a PTU release for non-NDA testers around CitizenCon. That would be very cool. So this week's Inside Star Citizen kicked off looking at bombing and using the Hercules A2. Now CIG are trying to form elements to allow us to either be offensive or defensive, and for example, if players were to set up a defensive position at a planetside location, or even for attacking NPC planetside locations like underground facilities that can now utilize ground missile turrets, you could rock up in a Hercules A2 and use the bombs to help eliminate the defensive systems to capture the location. For the first iteration of bombs, they wanted to go big using a big ship, and they want skill to be involved as well, and as you can imagine, there will be smaller bombs to be used by smaller ships in the future. These size 10 bombs are just the starting point. Now the bombs are used in the similar way to the missile operator mode. It'll give you a visual indication of where the bombs will drop if you were just to release them, but we will also have the option to create a ground reference point that will tell us where to move the ship to in order to successfully hit the target, providing suggested micro adjustments to ensure a good hit. Also, it was mentioned that wind will affect the drop, so who knows what will happen with the crazy wind on the planets and moons. In the future, they say they will be supporting a full bombing station on the A2, using the support seat and console, which will include a remote camera to provide a drop-down view for dropping the bomb, which will remove the ability for the pilot to drop the bomb. So bear that in mind. If you are an A2 owner, for 3.15, it is the pilot who will be dropping the bomb. Hopefully the co-pilot could, as it's utilizing the same system as the missile operator mode, but that wasn't confirmed here. But in the future, as they say, there will be a dedicated bomber station. The bomb blast does have a pretty large radius, but will also injure those near the explosion if you are not within the initial blast range. Now personally, I am all for the A2 and bombs, and think there's a lot of fun to be had with them, especially in helping to aid in attacking the underground facilities. Of course, as usual with most ships in the PU, they don't have a lot of uses outside of what players can muster up themselves, which is fine for now, as CIG will certainly create gameplay uses for them in the future. I am very happy to hear that the A2 will eventually have a bomb operator seat, a great way of working together on this ship, and like with any heavy ordnance ship, they serve a very specific purpose, but where the A2 will be able to shine a little further is it can carry cargo as well, or larger vehicles, which is a useful addition, whereas things like the Eclipse or these dedicated combat ships, they only need to come out for a specific job. I do expect in Alpha 3.15 there will be a lot of incidents of bombs being dropped on miners, the innocent, and just people maybe at outposts, with CIG still refining the lore, NPC security systems and reputation. This stuff is gonna happen, but it will help CIG to find the best methods for countering them in the game and introduce ways to make it more challenging. But in 3.15, I think having security escorts is probably going to be quite important. Overall, as much as the A2 probably won't get a lot of use or need in the current PU, outside of just being a pain in the ass, it is a necessary element in the whole combat dichotomy and will be a very useful tool or a formidable foe when used against you, and I look forward to learning how to deal with both possible outcomes. So next up, we had a patch report, which is the usual run through of what features are coming in the next build. As we know, medical, healing, and the new player statuses are coming in with 3.15, bringing us one step closer to the death of a spaceman mechanic. Now this includes down states, so no longer will you just die and respawn, it will allow for other players to come to your rescue. There are new injury states and new medical treatments to alleviate those states as well. Now, although it'll take some time to get used to this and iron out any of the issues and bugs, plus, of course, refining the lore and the reputation systems to accommodate, over time it will become part of the overall experience and really have us getting prepared for what we are doing, learning how to fix ourselves up, plus taking a little more care in what we're doing. The personal inventory is another huge new feature for 3.15. No longer that magic bag of holding, now what you take with you is all that you will have with you, allowing us to store items that we buy or find in the various areas and putting them on our persons or in our ships, impacting our gameplay decisions massively. Now this is such a great new addition, and with the blurring of the background while in the inventory mode, I feel it's a much nicer balance between what I was saying before in regards to how I don't think we should be able to see behind us, while giving us the ability to see our character. And I really do love that we can see our character and directly swap items in and out. It feels more connected to the character, strangely enough, getting a proper visualization of what we look like. I actually really can't wait for this to come in, as I do think that even the basic missions or whatever it is that we get up to in the game, this and the medical system will change up how we embark on them and make us just read more about what we're trying to do, think about what we're doing, and just get more equipped for that job. So to keep track of all of our items, we have the new asset manager app Knickknacks, which is on our Mobiglass. This will allow us to locate any item or ship that we own and its whereabouts in the verse. Loot generation tier 0 will provide items and rewards when we just travel around the verse, and I do believe they are almost in every outpost you go to, you can find some stuff. New infiltrate and defend missions with tactically based objectives like avoiding security and stealthing around, having to attack the location without killing any defenders, defending waves of attackers, or defending an item or person. Now they say new underground facility missions have modifiers to keep them fresh and less repetitive, and they will continue to evolve. Now I'm very happy about these new missions, as much as I'm sure they will eventually become a little repetitive themselves. It's great to see new, more diverse options that don't require a huge amount of work for the developers to create, and will only grow in diversity as more types become available, and I'm really excited to try these out with my org. It was also mentioned that both the Arid Starfighters and the Redeemer will not be coming in the initial 3.15 release, but during the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, which is around November time. So do bear that in mind. We already knew that the Ares was coming in a 3.15.x patch, as John Crew did mention this a little while ago, but now we have confirmation that the Redeemer will be joining them. So still in the 3.15 branch, just not with the initial 3.15 release, and they will be on display at this year's IAE and available on sale. Arena Commander is getting their new maps, utilising the new tech and design features, including a new scoreboard created in building blocks. In Orison, we have the new Crusader showroom, where in 3.15 we'll be able to buy the Mercury Star Runner and the Hercules C2, M2, hopefully the A2, although with the initial release it'll likely just be available on the website until later on. And eventually the Ares when that gets implemented, and one day the Starliner as well. Cousin Crafts is also new to Orison, where we will be able to buy new components and liveries, as well as other things that we will hear about when we get closer to release. Maybe a module for a ship of some form, I reckon. We know they said the Retaliator is supposed to be the first ship receiving the module treatment, but I have this feeling that CIG may be bringing a different ship to use it first. I could be wrong, but I do have a feeling. Finally, we have the hospitals and space clinics in many locations for us to keep our characters in tip-top condition. So with Alpha 3.15 on the road to release, Inside Star Citizen is now on its usual quarterly 3-week hiatus, but in the meantime I don't think we will miss it all that much, as we will have 3.15 to get stuck into, plus CitizenCon. I have linked my video covering CitizenCon's schedule and what I would love to see at this year's event. I have dropped that in the description below. It is so close now. What is it? 6 days? 5 days? Oh, my brain can't take it. So also this week, the Galactopedia was updated and includes new entries for the Vector, Tyak, Charon, and Centauri systems. Great for anyone interested in the various systems of the universe. To celebrate the run-up to the Day of the Vara, which is the inverse version of Halloween that takes place on October 27th, there are a few competitions going on, plus some new ship skins and in-game headgear for those interested. If you would like to learn more, I have linked the information in the description below. And finally, this week's Star Citizen Live was a game dev episode where prop artists take an old asset and redevelop it using the latest tech improvements to bring it up to the current standard. It was actually a very interesting episode to see the process of how they build the props, but there wasn't anything juicy to be learned. So if you want to watch it, again, check that description. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.